That this week it is the intention of the Majority Leader to put on the floor of this chamber a resolution that is related to take on the enormous challenge of climate chaos. Now, if I just heard that announced, I would say, well done, because it's way past time for us to wrestle with this calamity affecting all of our states and, in fact, all countries around the globe. Temperatures across the planet going up, all kinds of impacts are being felt. And so if the Majority Leader said, yes, we are going to rise to our responsibilities and have a serious debate on the floor, we're going to take a bill to committee, we're going to wrestle with how we in America can not only take on carbon pollution here, but show the type of leadership that mobilizes countries around the world, mobilizes leadership around the world, well, then I would say, well done. But unfortunately, that's not what is about to happen. The Majority Leader has said he doesn't want to talk about climate, so he wants to put a resolution on the floor with no debate on the committee, no serious effort to develop a series of policies to take on this calamity, and just to create a farce out of this chamber. This chamber, I love being used in this, well, this horrific fashion, taking very serious issues that threaten our economy, threaten our natural resources, and making fun of them, choosing to do nothing. No, it's Henry David Thoreau who said, what use is a home if you don't have a tolerable planet to put it on? But I'm sure when Henry David Thoreau spoke, he had no inkling of the challenge that we'd be facing here in the year 2019. This challenge this year in 2019, when in a single human lifetime, the carbon dioxide in the air has gone up 30%, trapping enormous quantities of heat, raising the temperature of our ocean where 90% of the heat is trapped, changing the weather that we experience in all kinds of ways, driving a huge increase in forest fires in our countries. If that alone was the impact, that would be enough to take action. In fact, if we just look at that one issue of forest fires, looking at the fourth National Climate Change Assessment, it is estimated that the change in climate has doubled the acres burned by forest fires. Just that one issue. And I can tell you in my home state of Oregon, we really see this. The Northwest is a beautiful forested landscape, particularly west of the Cascades. It's the most incredible old-growth forests and timber stands you would ever see. And it's burning at an unprecedented rate. And why is that? Well, for one, we have summers that are hotter and drier than before. And we have that hot, dry period extend for about 2 months longer than before. And then we have storms that are more likely to have lightning strikes than before. Well, combine this very dry forest with lightning strikes, and you have a huge problem on your hands. And it isn't just some remote forest that's burning our natural resources and our ecosystems and our timber stands. It's also the smoke having a huge impact on our cities and the commerce of the cities, on our recreational industry. And that's not the only impact we see in my home state of Oregon. We also see that the acidification of the Pacific Ocean from carbon dioxide is starting to make it hard for shellfish to make shells. Most significantly, 10 years ago, when we discovered that the acidity of the ocean, Pacific Ocean, was killing the newly born oysters as they tried to create a shell to do so in more acidic water. We have to actually change the chemistry of the ocean water now. We have to buffer it in order to enable the oyster industry to survive. Well, what kind of a canary in the coal mine is that? What kind of warning is it that a shellfish is in trouble because the ocean is becoming too acidic. And you may say, well, how does that have anything to do? How does that have anything to do with carbon in the atmosphere? Well, it has everything to do with carbon in the atmosphere because the ocean waves absorb the carbon dioxide. It becomes carbonic acid, and that acid makes the ocean more acidic. You know, I stand on the beach in Oregon, and I look out at that Pacific Ocean, and of course, you can only look about 20 miles to sea, but all you see is water. And it's hard to imagine that you would have to go thousands of miles to hit another continent. And yet that ocean, as vast as it is, has changed its chemistry in our lifetime. Not just becoming more acidic, but becoming warmer. In fact, we had a calamity ongoing right now off the coast of California and Oregon and Washington, in which the kelp are disappearing. And the kelp are disappearing, yeah, that's a concern for every fisherman. The kelp forests provide a lot of shelter and food for a lot of species. How do we know what impacts that will have on the various fisheries that are so important to our coastal economy? And then we have the fact that the changing snowpack is affecting our winter sports. The lowered average snowpack means warmer, smaller trout and salmon streams in the summer. People in Oregon love to fish. They want healthy streams. They don't want too tiny, too overheated streams that are bad for the salmon and bad for the trout. You start to get the picture of how we're seeing an impact on our forests, on our farming, on our fishing, on our cities from smoke, from human health as people inhale that smoke. So it isn't just an impact on the economy, it's actually an impact on our health and our children's health. That's just in my state. So I would ask my colleagues across the aisle, every one of them, to say, you know what? We have a responsibility here to take on issues that are doing great damage. That damage isn't just wildfires. We're seeing more intense weather events across the country. We see them in all kinds of places: severe weather storms, droughts, hail, tornadoes, probably most significantly these more powerful hurricanes like Hurricane Michael and Hurricane Florence just last year in 2018. And of course we saw the trio of hurricanes in 2017. And you say, but are hurricanes connected to all this? How can that be? Well, hurricanes take their energy from the ocean. And when the ocean is warmer, it creates a fiercer hurricane. It takes that energy and becomes winds that are moving faster, hurricane that's larger, endures longer when it hits land. It's estimated that the extreme weather events cost Americans nearly $500 billion over the last 3 years. In 2017 alone, between the fires and the hurricanes, an estimated $300 billion. So that's real damage. That's real economic damage happening here in the United States of America. You talk about $1 billion of damage, you're talking about a lot of families being set back a long ways. You're talking about a lot of infrastructure being ripped up. You're talking about lives lost. But despite this enormous damage, despite lives lost, the majority leader wants to create a farce over an issue threatening our country and threatening our planet. That is just wrong. It's way beyond wrong. To see the face of a calamity and to do nothing, well, it could go with all kinds of adjectives. None of them complimentary. Not a one, because we should be the opposite here, taking on the responsibility of addressing these issues that are having an impact in the heartland, having an impact on our soy and corn crops, having an impact on the coasts, having an impact in the southeast with hurricanes, and in the northeast with Lyme disease, spreading tick infestations, the loss of the moose, the lobsters heading north along the ocean into Canada.